Hey everybody, Matt here with Big Red Liquors, and today I've got something that continues to be very impressive. This is a Big Red Liquors select batch of Jefferson's Ocean weeded mash, and I think it's safe to say that most of this is the MGP weeded mash that in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They started producing that mash bill 4 or 5 years ago. And it's been available in some format, I think in a relatively limited basis for bulk buyers like Jefferson's to acquire. I believe that's what this weeded mash is. Otherwise it would be Weller's or Makers, and it's definitely not going to be that. So I firmly believe that this is one of the best, if not the best, large-scale new production whiskeys in the last 20 years. It's just incredible, the depth of this whiskey, the integration of all the flavors. It's light. It's just so rich without being heavy. It's just really an incredible whiskey, and this is always one of the weird things about MGP. I think they revolutionized rye. Certainly their 95% rye recipe when it got released, because that was always meant to be a blended or a blending component of Seagram's whiskeys. But when it got released, when people really got to taste the flavors that Lawrenceburg, Indiana was capable of producing, it really changed the game for rye. And Jim Murray, the whiskey writer, also helped with that. Now I think some of their new experimental mashes that they started doing these 4 or 5 years ago are going to start coming onto the market. And this one is, I believe, they don't say this anywhere, so it's just conjecture at this point, because I've tasted this recipe before, but I think this is the 45% wheated mash bill from MGP in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, bottled by Jefferson's under the Ocean label. And it's just spectacular whiskey. Lots of citrus, especially lemon. A little bit of spice, but not too much. A little bit of tropical fruit. It's so perfumed, so lifted. It's got just kind of a hint of sort of a signature pine note to it as well. Let's try it. Well, that first time, it just drops onto your palate. It's like a silken tear. I mean, it really is so clean. The flavors, the fruit, the spice, the oak. I keep wanting to say light, but I don't mean light like light in flavor. It's extremely flavorful, but it doesn't have like this overwhelming spice. It's 90 proof. It's proofed perfectly. This is a delicious whiskey, and I'm shocked. I really am, that with all of the bulk bourbon being swept up and all of the kind of crappy whiskey that's out there, that this still exists, and that somebody is just now bringing it to market. So again, there's no age statement on here. So it must be at least 4 years old, but this is an incredible whiskey, one of my favorites this year. I love MGP. I love everything they do. They make unbelievable whiskey. If you can find the wheated mash bill that's a high wheat, and you can taste it. I mean, if you taste it here, you taste it anywhere else, you'll know what I'm talking about. Buy up as much as you can, because this is going to go down as some classical stuff. How good it's going to be at 6, 7, 8 years old, I don't know. But right now, the way this was engineered as a 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old whiskey, it's incredible, tastefully matured. It's just delicious. There's really nothing else to say about it. Cheers.